Hey guys, and welcome to this edition of Property Investment News. I'm Brett Alegre-Wood, and today is Thursday the 26th of November. So today I'm going to go through the Autumn Report 2015. Some quite surprising things in there, and actually for me disappointing. I think the Tories and Conservatives had the opportunity to do a lot of good, but what they've actually done, I think, is really targeted certain sectors and given other ones a real hand up. And I actually don't think they're supporting the common person, the average person. That big business, huge wins, and huge potential things. It seems they've been come off scot-free of this. But yeah, we'll talk through. I mean, it's not all bad news. That's one of the important things. The economy is doing well. The GDP is looking good and is considered to be continuing to grow good. Interest rates are looking to stay quite low. Okay, certainly Mick Carney come out and said, he thinks 2017. Increasing supplies. There's a lot of focus on building more homes at the lower end of the spectrum, so people can get on the housing ladder, and certainly a lot of support for that. Okay, and a lot more buyers will be in the market because of that, because they're getting 20% discounts and starter homes and all these shared ownership and these sort of schemes. On a real positive for what I do certainly is that new build is going to boom. I mean, everything is focused on building more properties. So as a builder myself and as a real estate agent and all that sort of the things that I do, actually that's great because we are focused on new build and we've always been focused on new build. So from us, that's a fantastic thing because the more building you get, the more the economy gets stimulated, more jobs there are, and that's a really positive thing. Okay, now that's the positives, if you like. The negatives, well, unfortunately, there's a 3% stamp duty. Additional stamp duty on buy-to-lets. So the normal stamp duty is there, plus a 3% on addition to that, which is pretty hefty, and that starts from the 1st of April next year. There's no exact guidance right now, but it's looking like, effectively, if you exchange or complete after the 1st of April 2016, you will definitely pay the new amount, but somewhere between now and 12 o'clock on Wednesday night, and actually then, if you've exchanged before, then you should be okay. If you haven't, then it looks like you're going to be paying the fee. That's if completion takes place after that date. If it takes place before that, no problems. So let's just have a look at some of the things. So basically, the UK economy. So what they're talking about is about 2.4%, but I thought this was an interesting chart because what we're talking about is here, the various countries, and you'll see the UK has actually come out the best of all the G20 countries, and it really has. I mean, there's no doubt about that. That's been quite good. Thank goodness we're not in the euro because that would have sort of dragged us down and really weighed heavily upon. But the reality is we're doing quite well as a country coming out of the recession. And really the recession's over and has been for quite some time. But now's the time really, and if you look at this, we've had 11 quarters of growth. We had one drop there, growth, one drop there, and then so actually technically the recession finished really 2009. Okay, so it's been going a long time, but it's the carryover that's really still affecting us. And certainly, if you're out in the towns and countries, country places in the UK, you're still probably feeling it. Businesses still haven't recovered; they still haven't got back on their feet, and that's why this stuff is so positive that's coming out now about building new homes and really stimulating that economy, because that is the way to do it. Build more properties. I've been saying this for years. Obviously, they're starting to listen to it, but yeah. So, we've got money spent. We'll encourage house builders to construct starter homes. Starter homes pretty much mean that people get a 20% discount on what the normal retail rate would be. And there's a lot of stimulant for that to happen. And there's shared ownership. There's pretty much everything, every aspect of new homes aimed at people getting on the ladder. Not so much high-end homes and things like that, although there is a London supplement, so people who live in London will also benefit and be able to get on the home. So if you're sitting there wondering whether now's the time to do it, definitely do it. Get in as soon as possible, because what we've got now, the where we are in the market and where the cycle's going is going to be going up. Okay, so that's good news for us, and it's good news if you get on the ladder. Housing budget doubled to 2 billion. 400,000 affordable homes to be built by the end of the decade. Okay, so that's quite a lot. I mean, this is if they can pull this off, which I don't think they will be able to, not at those numbers. They're just not planning, and there's a whole range of reasons why. It's all great to say this, but if they're not going to do the basic things they need to get things happening, it just ain't going to happen. It's going to be restricted. And certainly we're already seeing local councils put restrictions on, or try and put things and opt out of things that mean more houses would be built. Okay, so really, it's good news, but the one negative is that George Osborne seems to have this in his head that frankly, people buying a home should not be squeezing out families who can't afford to buy a home. Now, what he's talking about is buy-to-let investors. Okay. Now, I think this is really misguided. I think this is going to cause a whole generation of people to have a really crappy pension and crappy retirement, because he's focusing on getting people on the ladder. Actually, it's with the schemes that are there, it's not that hard to get on the ladder. Now you may be sitting there going, well, yes, it is, Brett. But actually, if you get 5%, and it's always, for me, if you can't find 5%, then you're not ready to buy a home. So 5%, you've been able to get on a home for a while. All the schemes they're doing now are just going to add to that. But what he's also done, which is a real kick in the teeth, is hit the buy-to-let. So what's happened is the new stamp duty rates are basically 40,000 and below. You don't pay any stamp duty, but you will pay the additional if it's a buy-to-let. The interesting thing is, try and find me a £40,000 home, that doesn't need £20,000 work on it. But anyway, 125, you're going to pay 3%, 5%, 8%, 13%, 15% above 1.5 million. So, for most people, they're looking in that sort of 5 to 8% mark, okay? And remember, this is 3% across the whole lot. So it's basically you're paying the 2% or the 5% or whichever it is. So you pay 2% on this much, 5% on the additional bit, but 3% is on the total amount. So it's the old calculation plus 3% on top of the whole amount is how you calculate this, all right? Now, the interesting thing is, one of the things and this is why I say corporates have actually done quite well, because the government's saying, look, if you're owning more than 15 residential properties, they'll consult whether it's appropriate to charge the 3%. In other words, big business, huge win. The small buy-to-let landlord, which is most of our clients that we deal with, he's targeting you directly. Basically what he's saying is you're the reason for pushing up prices and why people can't afford. Not that they're freaking useless at their policies and that there's been years of misuse and these pensions don't work and all this. It's almost like buy-to-let investors, you're the problem. So far from the truth. So what we're starting to see is these ads, things coming out, annihilation of buy-to-let and politics of envy. And basically what it's talking about is how, attack the little guy, give the big guy free rein. My take on this is this: look, it is an attack, annihilation. I don't think it's that serious, and actually I think it is an added cost. So make no mistake, the cost of doing business, the cost of doing buy-to-let business is 3% more expensive. However, it's not an expense. You have to pay it up front, but you will get to, as long as you make money, when you sell, take that money back. So you will get that as off the capital gain. All right. So in some ways you're paying it, but you will get it back. All right. So there's that consideration, which not many people are talking about. Okay. Look, it's another big hit at the top end. So if you're buying, the £1 million plus stuff, 3% on the total amount on top of the 12% already. So that market, which was already a bit shaky, actually is probably going to become more shaky now. All right. My take on this whole thing is, look, yes, it's 3% stamp duty. It hurts. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to deny that. But the reality is, if you're looking at sort of 6 to 12% growth per year now, which I think is we're looking at, that really, you're looking between, 1 month or 3 months to 12 months that it's going to cost, that's costing you in growth. Okay. So if you look at it that way, you still need to build, because the question is, what else have you got? What else you got to invest in? Nothing else out there is as simple, as easy, as certain of making you money, and this is not going to change this. So it's not like, oh, now we'll stop doing, annihilating buy-to-let and we're going to go do the next thing. There is not the next thing. This is still by far the best investment you can make, and the most certain and the least time-consuming and effort. So that that's the reality. And plus, remember, you're going to have so many new homes built, which is going to be driving up prices anyway. More people jumping on the ladder. So actually, that's good. So the 3% will probably be absorbed in the grand scheme of things. Does it hurt? Yes, it's going to hurt when you first buy. So you've got to add that in. But you actually should see the benefit of the growth because of this buy-to-let boom, and because the new build housing boom that is going to happen. and even if they don't meet the marks, even if they get halfway, it's still going to be fantastic. Okay, so yeah, it's a good and bad, if you like, and really it hasn't added any certainty to the market. There was already a lot of changes, and I think really my personal opinion is don't vote for this idiot. George Osborne, really, I won't be voting for him in the next election, because as far as I'm concerned, they were going down one track and now they've totally written off the people that voted for them. So in some ways would have been worse under Labor. Who knows now, because some of the things they're doing. But for me, it comes down to this. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the interesting thing is, because they've had such a mandate from the election, where effectively Labor and the rest of the parties fell to bits, they're just doing whatever they want now, whatever they want. So really, we need to be sending a message to them that that's not appropriate. That they need to consider the people who put them into the place. Anyway, guys, have a great day, and remember, live with passion.